everyone, Richard Carlton. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. We are here. Hello, there I am, waving to you. Hey, everyone, welcome to another awesome day where we're doing FileMaker learning, investigating, making ourselves better, being inspired by each other. I'm frequently inspired by the folks out there yourselves. I'm greatly happy that you're here. For those of you wondering, when we broadcast, I have a broadcast computer that's kind of like right down here where you're seeing the screen here. And then I have this other thing over here where I'm reading all the conversations which were being written on Discord, YouTube, and Twitch. Today is a conversation about licensing, but before we do that, we want to cover the upcoming broadcast schedule, live training schedule. Boop. All right, so what we have is down here. It's a real FileMaker data coming out of a database. Amazing. Today is the actual cost of FileMaker Solutions. This is going to be a very dependent conversation with everyone here because licensing is just part of it. In fact, the licensing cost of FileMaker is the smallest part of the cost of FileMaker. For some of you, it's the biggest cost of FileMaker, which is probably a bad sign that your budget's probably too small. Credit card processing, PCI is the regulations, at least imposed by the credit card companies. It's kind of similar to privacy issues, things like that, but it's making sure that you protect and you don't store credit card information in your computer in a non-encrypted way. There's all these different levels of PCI, so the regulation in terms of dealing with credit card processing and that information. So that's going to be a conversation that starts tomorrow. Then Wednesday and Thursday, Hannah Watson will be here discussing with Christian Olsen. I think Margaret's going to probably run the broadcast on those 2 days, assuming she can do that. And then Christian Olsen will be the MC, and then Mr. Watson will be the talent. And that way they can talk about all the cool things. Christian, who does the Wolfpack, we're all greatly impressed with Christian. Saw some stuff that Mr. Watson was doing, was blown away. In fact, we've never had a chance to really talk to him. He's one of these people that contributes a lot to the FileMaker community, a lot behind the scenes, I think, a lot with ETS. He shows up there along with various people and is always talking about, well, what FileMaker should do and isn't doing and how it should do it better, which is great stuff. Then Friday, more credit card processing, along with Monday, additional conversation on the credit card. So as a reminder that Mr. Watson and Christian will be here at the 2 days, and then I've invited Christian Schmidt, the other Christians. We have Christian 1 and Christian 2. The German Christian, he will be here. He's the Monkey Bread guy. A lot of the stuff that Hal Watson has done for us is dependent upon Monkey Bread. So if you haven't bought Monkey Bread yet, these days coming up will be a lot of bug fixing and how to make your life better, easier, faster when you're doing FileMaker development work. And so you're going to want to think about, once again, the Monkey Bread plugin if you haven't purchased it already. So that is coming up. So let's talk about the broadcast for today. I got also Jacob Taylor here. Jacob, you should feel free to jump in on this as much as possible. So we're kind of retreading this conversation a little bit because I run into people all the time who don't understand FileMaker licensing. And it's not just the FileMaker licensing, but it's the total cost of FileMaker. How much does FileMaker cost? It's really the session. So if I actually, let me see if I can I close that? All right, so it really should be called how much does FileMaker actually cost? Question mark. That should be really the name of the presentation, right? So let's adjust that. So because licensing is an important part of it, but it's a trivial piece of it. And you're going to spend a great deal of time and or money getting the solution customized to your needs, right? So up front, I want to do our initial kind of our description of the levels, what we call the progression of learning. It's in the book. It's something we came up with. It defines people very, very well. So we have people who are in the business, world of business, who are the business owners. They're not technical. These are the business owners and managers. They just want a good return on investment. They don't care if they bought software from Satan himself. As long as they get a good return on investment, they don't care. It's good. That's business, right? Then you got brand new developers. Should say brand new. It's a little chopped off. Then we have intermediate developers and senior developers. Brand new developers are the people who are brand new. In fact, I can tell you this conversation today about the licensing part. I have senior engineers at my company who don't fully understand the licensing because it's not really their job. Their job is to build a really great solution, work with the customer, and that's part of the cost of getting the solution fixed and rolled out. But yeah, brand new developers who are just trying to get it to work. You have intermediate developers who've been doing FileMaker for a while, and 1 to 3 years is what you'd be doing if you were doing FileMaker every day. 1 to 3 years of every day, 8 hours a day doing FileMaker. That's your intermediate developer. They're big about optimizing the performance, making it run quick because they've deployed it, they're sharing solution, they've seen performance slowdown, so they have performance in their mind. These are also the people who are going to start buying the Monkey Bread plugin and paying attention to Hello Watson and paying attention to credit card processing and things like that. People over here at the brand new level just want FileMaker to basically work at very basic level, right? Very, very important. So, and then at the senior level, of course, we have people who can do very, very, very deep programming. That's most of the people that are around here. Let's just cover some licensing questions and conversations up front. So everyone, including when I made this presentation originally, tends to confuse licensing with deployment, right? Because they kind of parallel a little bit, but they're not the same, right? So it's kind of hard to read this right here, but this says FileMaker Cloud, which is Cloud 2.0. We got user licensing, concurrent licensing, site licensing, Claris Connect. That's a product. That's a product. These are licensing right here, right? So this is a deployment option, right? This is a totally different product entirely. And you could actually even add FileMaker Server on here, right? So you've got to understand that these keywords are different. So in your mind, you need to separate the difference between a product and / deployment option and licensing. Really totally different things. So how do you buy FileMaker? Step one, how is it going to be deployed? I'm just going to cover this very point. And then once we get to the licensing, let's get into the real cost of FileMaker, the real cost, right? So you got FileMaker Cloud, which is software as a service. This is the new service. This is Cloud, what we call Cloud version 2. This is a service that Claris has put together. They took the FileMaker Server product, essentially. They took a server on Amazon, they put it together on their own, and they resell that as a simple service. It works pretty well. It has a lot of limitations. They've turned off a lot of the capabilities of FileMaker Server, right, because of some security things and whatnot and their idea of what they should do. But they started with FileMaker Server, which has all these capabilities. They take it, they remove some of the features, and then they couple it with a server, and you pay for that, right? And for 5 and 10 users, it's pretty inexpensive. When you get to 15 users, the price kind of starts to run at a very expensive product, right? About double what you're going to pay if you rolled your own server with FileMaker, and you had someone like Jacob, or you had Herr Watson, or Christian Schmidt, someone help you build a FileMaker server. At the 15 user level and higher, rolling your own server is much, much cheaper. So this is their cloud services. So this is competitive. These two are very competitive price-wise, 5 to 10 users. And then this at above 15 users is much cheaper. So here's, once again, what you want to do is when you ask your IT support people in your organization, whoever your IT support is, if you are your own IT support person, which is frequently the case, you need to find out what you prefer, right? So if you don't have a lot of technical skills, you want someone else to handle it, then you can go with the cloud offering over here. Confirm you don't need plugins and you only need Basic, Pro, Go, and WebDirect. So you really don't need Monkey Bread on the server, right? You could use it on the Pro side only, right? You don't need Monkey Bread on Go. You don't need Monkey Bread on WebDirect, etc. And so then you can use the Cloud 2.0 offering over there. Over here, you got FileMaker Server, Mac, Windows, and Linux. And then this is like the full meal deal. This is like the maximum awesomeness of the FileMaker platform. This is max awesome right here, right? Jacob Taylor, yes?
That's correct, yes.
That's awesome. So if I say something inflammatory, you feel free to stop me. So what we have to do now is you have to know your deployment plan. So now you're going to pick one of those. So we're back over here. Let me go back. So you're going to pick one of these two. So we made a decision. In your mind, you make a decision, right? And now we have to choose whether we want user licenses, concurrent, or site license, right? So it's basically step one, check how you're going to deployment. Step two is pick the licensing type, right? So user licensing, this is right off of Claris's website. But essentially, it's a named person. You should legally, I think if you read the contract, you should be able to name the people. So if you're using user, so say you have 7 people in your company, right? You should name Fred, Dick, Harry, Sally, Monkey Bread, Watson, and Jacob Taylor. You should be able to name those people, and those people are the named individuals. If Claris asked you to do that, you should be prepared to do that. It's not, well, we're not really sure. So these are named individuals. You don't have to name them right now, but you should be prepared to do that. If you can't, this is not the licensing option for you, right? Very, very, very important. The minimum also on this is 5 people. You can't buy less than 5, which means at the end of the day, your annual FileMaker license bill will never, for a basic deployment, is never less than about $1,000 a year. That's the cheapest it could ever be, right? So just keep that in mind. Concurrent licensing. This is where you really can't name the people. You've got a couple people from contractors that want to log in, some people outside the company that want to log in. You have 50 staff, but only 10 of them really use it, but you're not really sure at any given time which 10 is using it. So you buy concurrent licensing. Concurrent licensing seems to make sense, but it's about 3 times more for people to actually use that. Cat, give me a break. So the concurrency is 3 times the cost, right? So which means that loosely, if you have 30 individual user licenses, say the cat derailed my brain, it's the same as that 10, right? So it's about 3. This one, if I go back, this one here is 3 times the cost of this one, right? So if you actually know the users, name them, buy this one. This is the cheaper one. This is one, if you don't really know their names, you have 50 people, but only 10 of them use it at a time, that makes sense. But if it's like, if you have 10 people here and only, 10 people here that only use it, right? That's going to be more expensive. So this is going to be much more. So basically the cutoff is 3 times. If at least only 30% of your company is using the software at any given time, that's the break-even point for using concurrent. Hopefully that makes sense. Site license means everyone in the company uses it, even the janitor. Claris has been very militant about what a site license looks like. I had customer who had offices out in the middle of Nevada, Las Vegas, and they had some people literally out in the desert digging dirt and ditches and shit, and they made them buy the license too. So when they mean concurrent, they mean every last person who's in the company, even if they don't ever going to use FileMaker. It means the whole site, everyone is licensed to use it. So
we have kind of a question.
Yes.
From David Angel. I thought that all licenses were concurrent.
Negative. Not legally, right? So that you're getting into enforcement. And so basically the way that the user licenses works, okay, so this is the part where I tell you have to be able to name, like say I name 7 people, okay? Name Dick, Fred, Sally, Jeremy, Christian 1, Christian 2, and Jacob Taylor, right? You name like 7 people. Right now, when you buy a license from Claris, it's gonna, if you buy 7 licenses, it's not gonna ask you for the name of those 7 people unless you're using Cloud over here. If you're actually using this option here, you're gonna have to name those 7 explicitly and give them credentials. You have to name them. If you're over here, the current product, and this is going to change, but the current product is not going to ask you to name them. It's going to say, well, you're only allowed to use 7. We're not going to allow you to log more than 7 people in. It's not going to really check to make sure it's the same 7 people, right? So people weasel on that. And so they have 10, but only 7 use at a time. So they kind of play that game. That's not legal. And you're going to get yourself into a situation where there'll be an upgrade at some point, and it's going to ask you to name those 7 people. And then you're going to be in trouble, right? Well, not in trouble. You're going to have to name them, and you have some people who won't be able to use the software. So you really need to either think about concurrency or user licensing. A vast majority of people buy user licensing because it's much, much cheaper.
Yeah. The other flexibility that allows you, actually, and I would say this is a good thing, and it's not a license violation, is those are named users. So if, due to various global events, some of your staff are working from home and then they also had work computers, they can have a copy of FileMaker Pro running. Both people are Jane, right? It's her work computer and her home work computer, and those are the same seat, and that's actually fine. That works perfectly well under the license because they're allowed to have however many installs they want, but it's 7 named people. And so if Jane is the user of both of those computers, that's okay.
Right, exactly. But you can't be Jane's computer, but let Fred borrow it, right? That's not where it works.
Right.
So
yeah, correct.
All right, so that's the concurrent licensing. And then we've got we talked about this, and then the site license, basically 100% count of all employees, 100% count of all temporary employees. If they're digging ditches out in the desert, it doesn't matter, right? Because you're going to get a cheaper price, right? So this is like user licensing, except that they don't really care about the names of the people at this point. If you buy a 25 pack or 30 pack, typically you can get site licensing starting at about 25 seats. So you have to know basically your deployment plan first, and then you're going to pick your licensing type, right? Now, the next thing you're going to do is think about annual, perpetual. For some situations, you really can't do that. But annually is where you have a subscription. It's really like a magazine subscription. We're all familiar with software that's on an annual basis now. They don't sell it monthly. They don't sell it daily. It's by the year. You can buy it annually. It's about 1/3 the cost of the perpetual. Perpetual means that you own it indefinitely, except that it's not going to get up. When you buy perpetual, you get 1 year of free updates for a year. So you get all the updates that come for a year. After that, you don't get any updates, and so you kind of got yourself into a spot where you're not getting updates. I had the Department of Transportation in California contact me, and they said, we need you to work on our system. And I go, well, that's great. Well, we have a perpetual license. I said, I don't care what kind of license you have. We're using FileMaker 12. I said, I do care about that, because this was at 6 months ago or 8 months ago. They're using software that clearly has security vulnerabilities in it, and it's going to get hacked. And I don't want to be there when that happens. And they're refusing to update the software because they don't want to have to rebuy it, because they bought it once, and therefore they just want to keep using it really old, right? So this is part of the cost conversation, right? So doing annual is a great way of doing it, because it's cheaper in the near term. It's cheaper up through about 4 or 5 years. Because you can buy annual perpetual maintenance. It's 20% of the cost, right? So here's a full price, and you pay 20% annually after the first year to get your maintenance and updates. Here, it's 33% every year, 33.3% every year. Tick, 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 tick. So it's very budgetable. It's very manageable. This one over here, it doesn't quit working if you don't buy the maintenance. You just go out of date, and then you get yourself upside down on staying up to date, which is really a problem. So that's what you need to keep in mind. So your deployment choice, then user licensing, concurrent licensing, and the annual perpetual. Now keep in mind that if you're doing the option over here, the SaaS option right here, cloud, this is only available anytime you're dealing with Amazon, and this is based on Amazon. This is their software as a service, SaaS. This is only sold annually. You can't buy perpetual on this one right here. It's not sold that way. So the perpetual annual conversation is only an option right here. Just keep that in mind. Annual. Kyle says annual is definitely better. Yeah. So I want to make sure I've covered all this. I'm jumping through it. Perpetual, annual. How many? And then if you want, you can get additional years on that as a general rule, and you can get an additional discount on that, 5 or 10%, something like that. So this is kind of Claris's sales tool that they have, and they say, well, you want new or renewal, it doesn't really matter. So you select user licensing, concurrent site licensing, annual, perpetual, and then the number of years you want, and then out from their software kicks out the price that you're going to pay, right? And so we have Ryan who's here. If you have licensing questions and you want to talk to someone about licensing or maybe getting a better deal, send an email to support@RC Consulting and ask for Ryan, sales guy. He's here. I don't know, Ryan, are you there? Ryan?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay.
Yep.
So anything to add to this? This is kind of the stuff that you see all the time. You're already dealing with, right? So every day you're talking to people about licensing.
Yeah, annual is very popular. If you guys do have any other questions, I'd be more than happy to go over that with you, and yeah, take it from there.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward stuff. Now, the question is as once you've dealt with this, and when this is part of the interesting part about the cost of FileMaker, just because you license it, just because you license the software, doesn't mean that you actually have a functional solution. Why do people use FileMaker? What is the deal with FileMaker? It makes their business processes work. You can do, like 5 people can do the jobs of 10 people 10 people with Excel or Post-it notes, 5 people or less can do that with FileMaker. And so it allows you to do a lot more with a lot fewer people. It increases the efficiency of your team, right? It increases their happiness levels, right? For example, having payments processed automatically online, as opposed to someone trying to fax you some sort of credit card information to a fax machine, which may or may not even be legal, right, for the most part. Or you taking a phone number over the phone, right? A credit card and over the phone, read me the credit card number, right? Old school stuff. But that takes a lot of labor. You have to pay people for labor. And there's a big shortage of labor right now as a general rule, especially at the lower entry level McDonald's flipping job level, right? So yep. So let me click over here, make sure we're FileMaker. Got the questions coming in. So pretty straightforward stuff until you talk about cloud. Yeah, that's from Ruben. Yeah, so the short version I think of all this is what people understand, and we talk to people all the time, is why buy FileMaker. And it took the managers, the CEOs, the VPs at Claris. There's a new management team down there. It's taken them a couple of years to actually figure this out, because the product doesn't do anything without developer support. At the end of the day, it really doesn't do that. You can, if you want to be your own developer and learn all this, most of you here, Canberra, David, Ed, Foxy Jack, all of you, even if you have a day job, you've had to learn FileMaker on the side, and you've built a solution on the side. And so all of you have been that developer who builds the solution, right? And so you have to build a solution, even if you start with a free CRM like FM Starting Point, which is this free, starting place, FM starting point, there it is. This is a free CRM. It's like about a $300,000 product, totally free. It's unlocked. You can start with it. But even this needs to be customized to really fit your specific needs, assuming that you need a customer management invoicing thing. Like Ed was talking to us the other day about how he is doing fire inspections, right? Totally different. Now you could steal things out of FM Starting Point and get to that, create a solution faster, but you have to. The whole point with FileMaker is about the customized solution that's tuned to your specific business. That's the whole special secret sauce about this. People say, oh, you can go to this platform. It's a no-code platform. You just drag and drop. Okay, no-code platforms cannot be customized sufficiently to tune to your specific needs. Anyone who tells you about no-code is high on crack. And it might sell, it might demo good, it might look good, but as soon as you take a solution that only has drag and drop in it, you're horrifically impaired. What you want is a low-code solution like the FileMaker platform. And so people say, oh, my business is suffering. I've got all these, we're wasting all this time. How do we solve the problem? Well, you spend a little money on licensing. That's the first thing. They get over that. And then they go, well, now I just need it to magically, all my pain to magically be better. Well, you need to get a doctor in there to help fix things, right? There's not a magical medication that will fix all your ails. Most of the time, it's going to take some hard work. It's like, I got to lose a couple pounds. My blood pressure, it's going to take work to lose a couple pounds. We're going to do this, do that. And so then you get a customized solution that fits your needs, but it takes more effort to do that. So you're already maxed out. I'm going every day. I'm going every day, working all day, every day, all day. I'm so stressed out. Okay, so how do you make that stress better? Well, you get a customized solution that lowers your stress. So how do you get the customized solution? Well, you've got to either build it yourself or hire someone to build it or get some training, right? We do all that here. A lot of you do that here, right? And so then you're like, well, if I have to train and I have to do more, I'm going to have to, instead of doing this just to keep my company afloat, I'm going to have to even work more hours and more time and more stress. So the situation frequently gets worse before it gets better. It's kind of the hard part about the FileMaker platform. It's why that with Claire's had to come to this realization that just because you sell it doesn't mean people are successful. In fact, I think that was a really brutal lesson that the management team had to learn. Because someone buys it doesn't mean they're successful. I think they understand this now. 2 years ago, they didn't understand this at all, right? I guarantee they didn't understand. They might have said, oh yeah, we understand it. They didn't understand it. Now they kind of get it, right? You have to have developers. The developers have to love you. You get with the developers, they take the product and they help build and craft the solution. Even if you can do it real efficiently, like start with starting point, customize a little bit, get there really quick, cut the corner, get to the end faster. Because once you get a solution that's working, you're going to stress level and your work level better, and then it's down here. And then you got to decide what you're going to do with this extra time. And that you freed up for yourself and your staff. Are they going to do more work? Maybe they've been working 14 hours a day and now they can work an 8-hour day, right? Those are all considerations, right? So very, very, very important because so for example, some of you build vertical market solutions, and doing that is very, very difficult to do it cost effectively, right? Ron from MailSoft was doing that, and we haven't seen Ron in a long time, but he was building a product and working with some of our staff on and off, but he was rolling his own, and he ended up buying and selling it, and he ended up selling the whole thing off, and I think he broke even on the deal, right? And so he didn't lose any money, but he wasn't really being well compensated for his time. So building a vertical market solution in general is tough, but that's another thing. So if someone says, oh, I'm at this stress level, I'm going to license FileMaker, now I got to build something. Well, like for example, I'm going to do a free plug here for Scott. Scott Kane has a roofing solution. So if you're a roofing installer kind of company, you do installations of roofing, you could probably get a hold of Scott Kane on this live stream and write a check and buy the software from him, right? And if you did that, suddenly instead of you spending all this time to get it up to date, you might have a solution that's already built. It mostly works the way you want, assuming that your roofing business is kind of a standardized business and his software is great. Then what ends up happening is that suddenly you can buy that and you've cut the corner. Now you've got a solution that's ready to go, right? Everyone in this live stream, we're learning from each other, right? I learn from you, you learn from me. But everything in this live stream is about, everything here is about cutting that corner. You bought the software. That's this PowerPoint presentation, this keynote presentation I just showed you. That's the easy part of it. The hard part is building the solution so then you can lower your stress. I have to work more. So how do we make that easier? Well, you buy the Monkey Bread plugin if you're an intermediate to senior developer. That makes your time more efficient, more effective. You can build better solutions faster. So Monkey Bread guy's in here, right? Christian Schmidt's in here. So he helps smash this down and make it smaller, less painful. Right? You've got Watson, who used the Monkey Bread software to save money and time. And you got Christian Olson, who built add-ons. And so, if you could drag and drop an add-on to make your solution faster, that cuts down this time. So it's everything after the purchase of the license is the trick with the platform. The licensing is the easiest part. It's by far the easiest part from a technical execution. Like say you have a team of 10 people. The cost is what, Jacob Taylor, you there remember what the cost for 10 people was about? Was it like for on an annual basis for the basic license? Like $2,500
off the top of my head. Oh, for Cloud 2?
Or
yes.
OP2, it'd be about $2,500 or about something like that.
Yeah, it's all in.
Yeah. So about 10 pack of people, $2,500 a year. That's the easy part. Then you have to get the solution that's customized to fit your business. And every business, to some degree or other, nonprofit organization, government institution, educational institution, small business, large business, every one of you operates slightly different, right? There's little slight differences in how you do stuff. And sometimes those differences are big. It might seem slight, but they're big in terms of the way your process works. Now, if you're at McDonald's, right? Like a McDonald's, like a franchise, that's cookie cutter. When you get a McDonald's franchise, you're going to get the software. They already have McDonald's software. So you push the order and the menu's up above you and you can have a double Big Mac quarter. That's a franchise. We're not talking about that. We're talking about, you're not a franchise. It's the Scott Kane roofing installation business. And there's only one Scott Kane in the world. There's only one David Angel in the world. There's only one Mark Johnson or Larry who's doing AAA minor league baseball software for that solution. I guarantee it's probably the only serious minor league stadium management FileMaker solution in existence, and he'd probably sell it to you or sell you a copy of it if you asked him, right? So, but the question is it really going to fit your business model? Will that help? Well, that's what we have to ask.
And boss, a 10-pack of Cloud is for 1 year $4,680.
Well, they have the Essentials plan. Is that off the Essentials price plan?
No, that's not Essentials. That's their standard Cloud.
Okay, standard Cloud. Yeah. So yeah.
Yep. Essentials is $2,280 for 1 year.
That's about what I was thinking. Yes, about $2,280. So that's.
We do have one question on YouTube, but it does
Sure.
backtrack a bit.
Okay.
From Matt C. For named user licenses, does that allow Jane to log on to 2 computers to a server concurrently?
It should. What is the latest
yes.
on that right there, right? How's that work? Because a FileMaker server doesn't really understand it's Jane, right? It doesn't understand it's Jane. That's why David Learning thought it was, or David Angel, whichever one it was, thought it was concurrent, right? Jacob, what was your thought on that?
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, from the server's perspective, those are 2 seats. Jane is if Jane is logged in twice, Jane is 2 people from the server's perspective. That was why I said one of the benefits to user licensing previously is that she can have 2 installs at the same time. I would be assuming that she'd either be working from home or working from the office, but not both simultaneously.
Right,
So.
right. That's generally the idea with that, right? It gets tricky if you have someone who's using FileMaker WebDirect and Go, or they're doing Go and FileMaker Pro at the same time, because then they're burning up two of those slots, right? So yeah, that's why Claris, on the big scheme of things, is going to get to a point where the named users will be identified specifically. When you come back and look at the product offering right here, when you're setting up Cloud 2, you're going to actually specify all 7 or 10 or 12 or 100 people. You're going to specify all these people in there, and they'll all have credit. And then so if they log on with their username and password, they can log on with 10 computers. Like I personally, between the various offices I have probably 10 or 12 Macs. That way I don't have to move them from office to office. They kind of sit there. They're not high-end Macs. They're basic Mac Minis with monitors and things like that. But theoretically, Richard Carlton could be logged on 12 slots, right? So I'm kind of an outlier. It's kind of unusual. Most people have 2 computers, maybe 3, maybe 1. This handles that very well. Eventually, they're going to start asking for the names and credentials on users on FileMaker Server, and when they do that, then it's more flexible. It gives you more flexibility because your username and password you're not sharing it with anyone else, and so that's their password, and everyone shares it. Woo! That's how things start off when you're a brand new FileMaker developer. But in Cloud here is every person has a unique username and password, right? And you can even do a 2-factor authentication where it says someone's trying to log in, confirm on your phone that you're the correct person. It gives you the code and you put it in, right? Kind of cool. So yeah, I think the trick with FileMaker is understanding that the minimum installation is 5 users, and so the minimum cost, and we run into people with this once in a while who really hate this. The minimum cost on an annual basis is about $1,000. Now, if you want just a copy of FileMaker just for yourself, the best way to do that is just to buy one of my training bundles. Like a 2-year deal on my training bundle, you can get it just for yourself, and it's a lot less than that. However, that's kind of an outlier. I think most people need the training, but they also have at least 5 or 10 users that they support, right? Ed's there. Ed was there. Ed is now gone. So I was going to ask Ed how many people he had simultaneously. But if I go to Kyle, how many people are simultaneously using your solution when they're logged in? Foxy Jack. Canberra's retired. Stu, I'm not sure who's using your solutions. How many people are simultaneously using the solution, right? Generally, right? 4, Kyle. Okay, so there's a great one right here. So Kyle says I have 100 users, but only 18 simultaneous users, right? So that means that Kyle would probably buy an 18 or 20 concurrent pack because that's a really good ratio, right? 100 people are licensed, but concurrently they only figure they're only going to have 10, 15, 20 people logged in. That's a deal where you're going to want to buy the concurrency because you're going to save money on that, as opposed to buying for 100 licensed users, right? Yeah, so Kyle has a 20 pack, right? So Kyle theoretically would have a 20 pack of concurrency. Larry says, where do I find the pricing at options for concurrent? Larry, if you want concurrent licensing options, I would just get a hold of Ryan or contact Claris. I think Ryan will give you a little bit better deal. Normally what happens if people buy the training from us, a volume training license from us, they get or not training, they buy a volume license for us, they get our training too as an add-on. So it's something that Claris can't do, right? 100 hours of dedicated training. So if you want to buy the software, be all legal and everything, and also get some training out of it that doesn't suck, definitely contact Ryan. So that's support at RC Consulting. Just shoot an email there, right? So
I'll be looking out for your email, Larry.
20 users, right? Okay, Kyle. So is that concurrent or individual? Because I'm thinking those are. Yeah, Ryan, what is the price on 20 concurrent annual? 20, punch it through your thing in the basic price on the 20 concurrent annual. Ryan will do that. Okay? So instead of me asking Kyle what he's buying, because I'm not sure Kyle even knows.
$8,640.
Is that a perpetual or is that annual?
That's annual.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think.
So Kyle, this is one of those awkward moments where you find out on live TV that you bought the wrong license legally. So, whoops. Anyway, yeah, Kyle bought user licensing, and he's got 100 people using it. So nothing like volunteering on live TV. So hopefully the Claris licensing police are not here. So there we go. Yeah, that's
Yep.
for user licensing, right?
3360, correct.
Yes, for user licensing, not concurrency, right? So once again, if you have 100 people sharing 20 licenses, that's called concurrency. You need to make sure you buy the right licensing for that. Anyway, yeah, so that's kind of the rub with all that. So it's the stuff's not necessarily cheap, but I guarantee Kyle, Kyle's is what, full time with them? So they spend a lot more just on Kyle's salary. That's always the thing. People get excited about licensing, right? But they're going to spend a lot more on development and on either with time or money just in getting the software built and maintained. And that's also another part of the conversation. We haven't touched on this, but the licensing is the cheapest part. Is the cheapest part by far. The server cost generally is pretty inexpensive, especially if you're doing Amazon and you're just doing an annual reservation for the server. But there's your time, right? It's like Ken doesn't have a lot of budget, but Ken's time is worth something, right? I'm not sure what Ken's time is really worth. It doesn't matter, but it's something. He's not free, even at the most basic level. And so as a result, even if he's volunteering, he still has value. There's time. Even if he's donating that time, it doesn't matter. There's still value on that. And I guarantee the amount of time that Ken has spent building the hot air balloon pilot registration management solution, I mean, probably tens and tens of thousands of dollars on that. So that's where that investment comes from, right? And then you have the initial outlay to build the solution, right? And you build the solution. So say you build it for $30,000, you build a solution, or $20,000. Okay, you're going to say pay $3,000 a year licensing. You build $20,000, $30,000. You build a basic solution. You should plan on about 10% maintenance fees on that on a annual basis to keep it up to date and running. So it means that little bug fixes come up or updates come up, about 10% a year. Once again, we have people who come back to me. It's like the Caltrans thing. They didn't want to put the money into it on an annual basis, so they come back to me literally 15 years later and go, hey, I want some fixes done on FileMaker 12. Well, it's so far out of date that you're going to have to find someone who wants to work on FileMaker 12 and wants to have the legal, be absolved of the legal liability on working on 12, right? And so while 12 might be fine, I don't really have a computer right now in my office that'll run 12. I'd have to figure out how to even run it, right? And so keeping it up to date, keeping your software up to date is important. Budgeting a little bit. Nick gave us this tip last week. Instead of working, I don't want to spend $30,000 on the licensing, don't think about it as a big block. Figure out on a monthly basis how many hours you can afford and budget on a monthly basis to actually invest that amount. I thought it was one of the greatest tips that Nick had offered. It's one of those things I had learned and I'd forgotten, right? But it's a great tip. Don't worry about that. How much time do you want in coaching time, or you're going to hire Jacob to help you with the server thing or whatever you want to do, but what is your budget on a monthly basis for that? And that helps you keep a relationship with a developer that you can call. Super valuable to have that available, right? And once again, this is not necessarily about RCC. Some of you out there do your own solutions. So all the tips and tricks I'm giving you are how you can position yourself better with your customers, right? The things that you have to articulate to your customer. If you're not my customer, then someone's probably paying you as a FileMaker developer, like Kyle Williams, right? Kyle, right? You have to articulate this. All this messaging for Kyle that we're discussing, Kyle has to articulate that or somehow involve his customer with it. He has one big customer. He's an in-house developer. They do a bunch of massage therapy, big business, boutique business, and he has to articulate that, right? There's his salary cost, the license cost, the server cost, and then what on an annual basis are they doing for maintenance and upkeep? Well, they're paying him salary to be there, so that's their maintenance and upkeep. They're paying for that. Is that a good use of their money? I don't know. Yes, no, maybe, who knows? Maybe it's a great investment. But every business will be a little different, right? So, comments and questions. Question, where does nonprofit pricing scheme? We don't sell nonprofit pricing direct. There is a nonprofit, but the developers generally, the salespeople, only Claris salespeople will sell nonprofit pricing, and they're really stringent on what qualifies as a nonprofit, right? They're going to want to see copies of your, in the United States, of your 50C3, whatever, paperwork, and then all sorts of extra proof and letterhead and this, that, and the other thing. And so you can get a discount with Claris Direct, not through RCC. We can't sell it. They knock some of the money off it that way. So So Kyle is there. Kyle also handles all the IT issues of the company. Once again, as a FileMaker developer, whether you understand this or not, almost every FileMaker developer wears more than one hat. They, in Ed's case, Ed's has a background in firefighting, fire suppression, fire inspections, and oh, by the way, he does FileMaker on the side, right? Kyle is more focused in the area of technology, and he also happens to do JavaScript and FileMaker programming along the way, probably with SQL and some other things as well, right? Very, very, very common. Other questions? Ed Bradley has 15 people on his license, right? So yeah, so once again, if you have 15 named people, then that's going to be about $2,700 per month, right? On that, on a user license, not per month, $2,700 per year on annual user licensing, 25, 26, 27, something like that. Basically, it's $900 for 5. And you can just do the math. So times 3 is 27, but you get a little bit of a discount when it starts going up.
Yeah.
So it's
15 is 2520 user license yearly.
25. So instead of 27 is 2520. Yeah. So, but that's how I do my basic rule of thumb. Yes, go ahead, Margaret.
Did you get the question from Nizan on YouTube real quick?
YouTube is not functioning on my computer.
Got it. Can a FileMaker Pro 19 serve more than 10 users if the client does not want to purchase a FileMaker server?
No, FileMaker Pro. So let's talk about this. Once again, this is I don't know what to tell you, right? So we're back to you want to use FileMaker, but you have absolutely no budget, right? And I'm not going to pick on you at all on this, but back in the old days, back in the turn of the century. FileMaker Pro initially, back when I got into FileMaker Pro in 1990, there wasn't a server product. Server was added in 92 or 93, whatever was added right in there. And so FileMaker Server at that time would peer-to-peer connect a copy of FileMaker Pro. You open it up, and it would share up to 25 people simultaneously. That was their entire server deployment. But back in those days, the biggest file size was 32 megabytes, right? And so the platform has moved on from then. In fact, back at that time, it was a flat file system. Now it's a fully relational system. But yeah, so what happens is that peer-to-peer has been left in the product, and they're going to let it naturally age out on its own. At some point, FileMaker Pro will get rewritten. I don't know when, but probably over the next 2, 3, 4 years, it'll get rewritten. And when it does, peer-to-peer will be removed from the product. So Claris basically, if you can't afford, and I hate to be really blunt about this, but if you can't afford $1,000 a year for software, Claris doesn't want you as a customer. I think that there's room for those people in the world. I think there's value to have them around in the world. Claris just doesn't want to, from a management perspective, deal with you, okay? And so someone like me, I'm happy to have you on a live stream and talk to you and give you strategies and tips like that. So peer-to-peer in Pro is doable. It's not secure. There's no backups in it. There's a lot of problems with that strategy, but you can buy it and run it that way, and you can have up to 5 goes or 5 other copies of Pro, Mac, or Windows connected to it. But there's no backups, there's no encryption, and if someone crashes, it's likely to take the whole thing down with it. The FileMaker Server is a much more robust product, but it's a minimum $1,000 a year. For 10 people, what did we say it was, Jacob? It was
$1680.
$1,600.80 just for the license per year. I know it's $1,600, but if it's a mission critical software that runs your company, what are you going to do, right? Because you say, well, Airtable does this other stuff. Yeah, but Airtable doesn't, it's not nowhere even close. We've done videos on this. We've done live streams on it. Airtable's not even close to FileMaker. It's free, and there's a whole lot of people who like free who love it, or it's really, really inexpensive. But we have all sorts of businesses who use Airtable, and they run right into the wall, and it won't get there what they need to do. FileMaker is low code, but it becomes pro code when you need it to be. That's why Ruben's here, why Kyle's here, why Watson is here, why all of us are here, because I would never use a platform that you couldn't go deep. Like it's like when you're playing American football, and you're doing little plays, pick up a yard or two, but then you have to go deep on a big play. You need some serious code to launch that football all the way down the field. And you better have someone who can really run, one person who can throw it and someone else who can run really fast to catch it. And, professional grade stuff to do that. Running a 1 yard play, 2 yard play, but you want to throw a 97-yard Hail Mary bomb down the end of the football field, you have to have some real code to be able to do that. Connect to Slack in parallel, with PayPal in parallel, with cross connection back to QuickBooks, with your own custom logic and your business rules implied and set in there. You have to do that with code. You cannot drag and drop that. So it becomes this issue. It's kind of sad. I know everyone wants stuff to be kind of inexpensive and free, but you have to pay. You have to pay to play, and that's kind of this minimum entry level thing with Claris. But they came up with this conclusion a long time ago. That's why if you try to buy a single copy of Pro from them, it's $540, because they don't even want to talk to you unless you're going to throw at least $500 at them, right? And so when we sell single copies of FileMaker Pro with our training for less than that, people are like, hey, Richard's doing a great job. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm happy to do that. But then I also take up the tech support part of it. I'm also doing training on it. I'm helping extend the platform forward. You become my customer, they're not going to worry about you, because basically I'm taking care of you, more or less, right? Yeah, FileMaker, according to Kyle, Airtable is limited because its UI does not allow for full customizations. I'm not sure what the full customization is, somewhat subjective, but it doesn't allow for unlimited customization. FileMaker allows unlimited customization to meet your business needs, right? So, all right, cool. All right, well, I'm not sure if we have too much more today. Tomorrow is a very different conversation. It's about the rules and regulations regarding credit card management, storage PCI. It's not. It's kind of very rule oriented, things like that. Oh, I lost someone. Very rule oriented in terms of the way the credit card companies deal with you. I think there's different tiers, so depending upon the amount of money that your organization processes in credit cards, they have different regulations, right? Like if you're processing if you're like Kmart or Walmart or Lowe's or something like that, some big business, and you have people taking credit cards, those people are supposed to be on video on security camera. I think that's part of the credit card regulation rules, that you're monitoring those people so you know what they're doing. Very, very important. So I need to tell people about the FDS to get the FileMaker server, right? And it's another product that is supposed to have been either canceled, killed, or modified or improved, and it continues to languish, which is the FileMaker developer subscription, right? So somewhat different than our training product. If you come over to this link right here, you can't play with cloud at all. So once again, you're kind of living in that area. But what it allows you to do is you get a copy of, there we go, United States English. You get a copy of FileMaker server, like server, Mac, Windows, and I'm assuming Linux is in here. And it has a 3 license cap on it. And so this is not for deployment. I can't count how many people who get this and they promptly set it up for their business. Once again, it's designed for testing, for you to set up a server to do testing on. However, it's kind of, if you're buying a server, right? Like Kyle's buying software for his company. When you buy a license, a bundle of FileMaker, like the user license or concurrency, you're licensed for 3 simultaneous servers to be used. One for development, one for whatever else, and one for the employees to use, right? So Claris added that. They added extra servers to the thing. So there's really, the only people that buy this right here are people who are not going to have full deployments, but they're trying to build and test software. So most people don't have this over here, but every once in a while you'll find someone who likes that. Yeah, so that's what this is for. So it's designed so you as a user, you as a developer, not a user, developer, you log in with Mac Pro, Mac or Windows, Go, and WebDirect, and those are your 3 licenses. So you're testing. It's not for 3 different people to test. It's for you to test all 3 clients in parallel. Right? That's what that's for. So it's a developer testing solution. Christian Schmidt loves it because you can use monkey bread with this, right? Right. But and I don't disagree. It's one of those sort of things. Even better, Airtable is like a straight jacket, and FileMaker is like a tailored, expensive leather jacket. Yeah, that's a good one too. We could run a commercial like that. Make it for Claris, right? So there you go. All right, well, that's about it for today. Tomorrow, once again, I'm going to hit the upcoming broadcast button here. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing the basics of PCI compliance day 1, right? Very exciting. All right, Jacob Taylor, Ryan Correa, Margaret Carlton, appreciate all the help today. Thanks, everyone who's here. Scott Kane, Calvin. Calvin, don't forget to reach out to me after this is over. I appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
And the guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected, the quarterback. Great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Trying to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap. Stands in, throws it left for Amendola. Reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10. Rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.